Welcome, acolytes. Today I am reacting to Rev. BioWare fires for activists as Capitalism and chats blame for Dragon Age the Veilguard's failure. So, okay, you know what, acolytes, just for a short time here. I have to say the following. Yeah. Ah, a Mistborn. Oh, Witcher 3 lore. By the way, I am not sure if it's if it's the exact one. Truth translation from German, but the Mistborn is the baby that actually got shafted and buried, and it's actually quite a sad story. But as it is, let's just start.
Hey, what's up, guys? Rip here. So today we got some more news involving BioWare and EA. As it turns out, actions do in fact have consequences.
Yeah. And it's still the Veilguard.
Monumental failure of Dragon Age the Veilguard, which has now been confirmed by EA, has led to a round of layoffs that have left the majority of the team over at BioWare who worked on Dragon Age without a job. Now, It's no mystery it's been a very rough couple of days and weeks for BioWare. Recently, we saw the director of Dragon Age.
And by the way, I hope that really the only ones that could actually fired are activists. But sadly, as I know the world, this wasn't the case, and a few people that actually didn't deserve it also got fired. But hey, sometimes a few eggs get broken, sadly.
Resign and move on to another company. On top of that, right around that time, we saw a new preliminary Q3 report coming from EA, who owns BioWare, who reported two major pain points as to why their company is struggling. And one of those pain points was, in fact, Dragon Age the Veilguard, which only sold 1.5 million units, which was 50% of their expectation. Clearly, this was a big impact on their Q3, which was a disappointment by their own terms.
Yep,
and in response to that, the stock over at EA would plummet very quickly and very harshly, losing about 20% in one day. The market value of EA dropped by billions, largely in part to the failure of Veilguard. Right around that time, we also saw that Dragon Age the Veilguard will likely be having its final major update with the patch 5 launch, essentially wiping their hands clean of this game, which was, of course, a big failure. And then, just yesterday, we saw...
No. That's how this works. Every WoW game right now will be a permanent stain on your company. Well, permanent maybe not. I mean a decade at least. I mean, gamers will forgive you if you just make good stuff, but they will be very worrisome. And as I said, like, Kingdom Come 2, by the way, a lot of drama because of some bullshit. If this wasn't the case, I would still pre-order it. Right now, I didn't. And I hope, by the freaking three unholy gods, that yes, it will be a very good game. This is the only thing that I am just so hopeful for. But if it won't be, then I didn't buy it, I didn't waste money on it. If it will be a good game, I still can buy it.
GameStop reporting this right here. I don't know if they're mocking this situation or they're trying to legitimately sell this game. I'm not sure.
No, they want to get rid of this crap.
Dragon Age the Veilguard is now available for just $24.99. Yes, this game went from $70 to $25 in just a few months. That is a horrible look for BioWare and a real reflection of just how desperate they are to move on from this and try to basically scrap together as many sales as humanly possible. You can see right from their own website. You can confirm this. It is a very concerning look for BioWare, who's now facing another major crisis here. So from IGN...
And good.
EA is restructuring BioWare following Dragon Age the Veilguard, moving a number of developers onto other projects within EA and focusing BioWare on finishing Mass Effect. So I love the fluffy language they use, like restructuring. They're firing people. There's a round of layoffs. And if you look at a lot of the Access media covering the situation, they use terms like restructuring instead of firing and things like that, because this obviously doesn't look good for their own interests. They supported companies like BioWare, and this is a very bad look for BioWare currently, but
I mean, yes, it is, and the thing is, just because they are repacking and flowering the language, it won't help really. Right now, if you're repacking and the language like that, it will be seen negatively. If they just said, yep, we're getting rid of those freaks, of those troll-faced freaks, it would be way better. It would be way better for the company, and they could maybe save some skin and just start repairing their actual knowledge about them. Iron Roof a bit faster, but as it is right now, nah.
If you go to the actual statement, this is from BioWare's website. They have this studio update posted just yesterday saying, "Hello everyone, today we are turning towards the future and preparing for the next chapter in BioWare's story. As we announced in August of 2023, we are changing how we build games to meet the needs of our upcoming projects and hold ourselves to the highest quality standards. Now that Dragon Age: The Veilguard has been released, a core team at BioWare is developing the next Mass Effect game under the leadership of veterans from the original trilogy," which is actually a pretty interesting move. I guess they're trying to recreate some of the magic of the previous games. Yeah. But down here they say, "In keeping with our fierce commitment to innovating during the development and delivery of Mass Effect, we have challenged ourselves to think deeply about delivering the best experience to our fans. We are taking this opportunity between full development cycles to reimagine how we work at BioWare. Given this stage of development, we don't really require support from the whole studio. We have incredible talent here at BioWare, and so we have worked diligently over the past few months to match many of our colleagues with other teams at EA that had open roles that were a strong fit. Today's news will see BioWare become more agile, focused studio that produces unforgettable RPGs. We appreciate your support as we build a new future for BioWare." So yes, how does one become more agile? Well, you shed some weight. And by shedding weight, you're doing a round of layoffs. So a lot of people at BioWare have clearly lost their jobs, and that's not surprising. Like I started this video off, actions have consequences. You can feel sorry for BioWare all you want, but at the end of the day, you're in the game business. Okay, if you're spending hundreds of millions of dollars producing a very well-liked IP like Dragon Age, you got to produce results. And when you have a cataclysmic failure like Veilguard was, people are going to lose their jobs as a result. So instead of being angry at people pointing this out, maybe you should be angry at the studio and why they went such a terrible direction with this game and IP, which, by the way, this IP appears to have been completely destroyed by Veilguard, which is a crazy and sad thing to see. But who is getting laid off? Well, of course, BioWare and EA, they're not going...
Wait, I just want to say one thing. Because Rev actually made a good point. That you shouldn't go after the people that point this shit out, but after the people that actually did the bad stuff. In this case, the company BioWare. Acolytes sometimes, and I say sometimes, even if you just apparently do not agree with the Cyclops neighboring you, sometimes the Cyclops is just correct. Sometimes the Cyclops just doesn't do it just because he's an asshole. Sometimes he means well. Not always, but sometimes. So yeah, hear what he says and what he means.
Going to come out and officially announce just how many people are leaving, at least this round. They did that back in 2023. I believe 50 people were laid off back in that year, but so far we have no numbers for this recent round of layoffs. However, following the announcement, as IGN reports here, a number of BioWare developers took to social media to say they were leaving the studio. This included a couple of editors, a senior systems designer, as well as a narrative designer and lead writer, and a producer as well. So some pretty high-ranking roles in the Dragon Age team. Now, all of these posts, where do you think they were made? Do you think they were made on X or traditional platforms like that? No, of course. You're dealing with a lot of woke people from BioWare. They're, of course, posting all these announcements on where else but Blue Sky, one of the biggest echo chambers for people in the gaming industry you'll ever see. I want to start with this post, which is from someone who worked at BioWare many years ago, but I think this is kind of a good reflection on who we're dealing with in this company and the type of people getting laid off. So this person says, I was a writer at BioWare for 5 years. I leaned a lot during this time. So this person, one sentence says they were a writer at BioWare, and then the next sentence, 2 words in, they have a misspelling. I mean, you can't even make this stuff up. But they say during this time they had a lot they learned from exceptional folks in many disciplines, but also specifically from my fellow writers and our amazing editors on both the ME and DA brands. Today, not a single one of those writers and editors remains employed there. Yes, they really cleaned house with this whole situation. None of the OG team, at least with the writers and editors, are employed with BioWare. They completely axed all of them. And again, it's not too surprising. But you look around at the people at BioWare, or the people who used to be at BioWare as well, and doesn't it just make sense? Like, Bio checks out as per usual. But scrolling through this person's account here, you can see all the other people who were laid off by BioWare. You can see this Trick Wikis individual saying that they're looking for a new writing and narrative position, and then what appears to be their partner saying the same thing with their editor role. And then you have this other person, Ryan, down here saying their time at BioWare has ended and they're moving on looking for some new opportunities. And then this other person, Jen, saying after almost 14 years at BioWare, they have been laid off. And it goes on and on and on. But some of these individuals are eyebrow raising for many reasons. This Trick person, I think we've talked about them briefly before, but looking through their account, it's a very strange presentation, okay? Like, I get it. I'm not surprised to see activism and things like that on Blue Sky, especially when it involves someone who worked at BioWare. That's not too surprising, but some of the stuff starts to get pretty concerning. But what I want to start with is some of the posts that they share, okay? So they reposted this. It's artwork of the character Tash, where this person captioned it saying, "You're right, Tash. Transphobia is an axable offense," where it says, "My pronouns are they/them," like implying that if you are transphobic, you are going to be gay-mended. Which, again, with all these other labels people give, like anything like that, like bigot or transphobe, pretty much you'll get that label if you disagree or criticize someone who's trans. So that's
that's and you just get this isn't even a joke. This is just so near to reality that it's not even funny. It's not even ironic. For F's sake, like it's
a very I guess low-key threatening post to share. But also we have this post that they also shared as well, that is captioned, "Added a small detail to this after reading some bad news. Tash says trans rights are human rights and protect trans kids." We'll talk about that last part in a second. But first of all, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Anyone who needs validation from a fictional character in this sort of regard with modern issues and topics, get help. I don't know what else to tell you, because I think that is a very pathetic thing to do, especially in this situation. I'm pretty sure this person reposting it here, Trick, I'm pretty sure they helped create this character. So they're sharing art of their own character, trying to validate their real life beliefs and stances, which is really odd. But we see this protect trans kids language in here. This is something they seem to very much hyperfixate on. And you can see their partner sharing an article, and then of course Trick reposting it, where we can see it's captioned like this: "Here is a positive thing you can put into the world today. Order Girl Scout cookies from trans scouts via this list from this address right here." Now, a couple things. I'm only going to show one censored example of one of these scouts that ends up on this public list. Also, again, with this topic, it's a very heated topic. Feel free to say, like, "Rev, you're going too far. Rev, you're unreasonable here." Like, feel free to pump the brakes on me at any point. Like, but I feel like a lot of people are just getting tired of this stuff here. And I've had some related posts on Twitter about this going on in the VTubing scene, and people seem to have had enough of what's going on here. Myself and a lot of other people, I don't care what you do if you're an adult. If you want to transition and you're an adult, That's your life. You do whatever you think is best. But once you start targeting children, you start confusing vulnerable children with this sort of ideology, that is full stop. And I don't understand how anyone else could disagree with that. And the way that people so fervently defend going after kids in this sort of manner is beyond me. So again, I'm not going to show this because it's just not a smart thing to post on the internet. What they're sharing here is an article with a curated list of kids described as transgender. It has their name and a little bio and how you can directly buy cookies from these children in an attempt to support them. And when you look around at these names, and by the way, sharing a list of children online is already eyebrow raising and concerning.
Yep.
But here's an example of one of the people listed here, one of the children listed here. Obviously, I'm censoring their name. This is a she/her who is a 7-year-old proud transgender girl. Pardon my French, but what the fuck is this? Like, this is absolutely insane. And I don't feel anger towards this kid.
It is insane.
I feel sorry for them. Because
no, I don't. Those are freaks. There are institutions where they should be put in. Let them just get out of the freaking way of normal human beings.
Clearly, there's a lot of people in their lives who are making them very confused. And it is very, very insane to me that we have normalized this sort of thing. You go to the comment section on the article, there's hundreds of comments validating and encouraging this sort of behavior amongst kids. And it's blowing my mind. Because clearly a 7-year-old is not old enough and is too impressionable to be developing these things on their own. It's absolutely insane. Again, if I'm going too far with this, I've lost my cool here and I'm going too far. I don't know. Feel free to correct me, but this seems like something we should all be able to agree on. And on top of that, you look around and that original writer we saw earlier that has no longer been with BioWare for a while, they also reposted this. So it seems like there's a legitimate cultural support of this at BioWare, both current and past, right? And it's just odd. And if you really support that sort of ideology, I don't really feel too bad about you losing your job, especially after the failure of Veilguard. And actually, it gets even worse because a lot of people are getting concerned, especially those at BioWare, that there's going to be even more layoffs coming in the near future. And does that really surprise anybody? Again, actions have consequences. You're a part of a massive project that did terribly. People are going to get laid off. I've been saying this over and over again. These studios seem like they will literally drive themselves into the ground with their sort of activism because they care more about owning the chuds on Twitter than they do making a good game that's not going to annoy people. But anyways, let's look at some of the reactions on social media from various people who are trying to justify or excuse or sympathize with the people who lost their jobs at BioWare. This individual says, Trick and Karen Weekies, the two people we just looked at, the partners over there, have been laid off and haven't been moved to other EA studios. Absolutely abhorrent. They've been at BioWare for 20 years and helped shape so many Dragon Age and Mass Effect iconic moments and characters. So upset for them. Dragon Age really is dead. And maybe that's a good thing that the IP is no longer, because that's the direction it's gone. And people were trying to justify this for their own political reasons, that this story was actually stunning and brave and something that should be embraced, when gamers just didn't want that. They didn't want virtue signaling being shoved down their throat at every corner like it was with Veilguard. And yeah, again, actions have consequences. It sucks you lose your job, but at the same rate, well, that's what happens when you're in the gaming industry, and this shouldn't surprise anyone. Here's another very bizarre set of posts. So we have this screenshot looking, it looks like it comes from X, where this person says this: people will call me delusional, but a game getting 1.5 million players should not be considered a failure. This is very much capitalism eating itself and people suffering for it. Of course, it's le capitalism. That's the reason why Veilguard failed.
Yes, of course.
Well, yeah, the issue here is that when you have a massive budget and you do these huge...
Yeah, and I mean, it's not because the game is total shit.
...projects that take years and years and hundreds of millions of dollars, you have to sell millions of copies. Most AAA releases that have budgets like Veilguard, they have to sell anywhere from 4 to even 8 million units just to have a chance to break even. So if they don't want to have to sell so many copies, then don't have such a massive and inflated budget. But it continues on down here where this person says, exactly, this is huge, but apparently not, according to them. It was the biggest BioWare launch. I genuinely am flabbergasted at EA's expectations here. Well, yeah, they invested a gigantic sum of money to try to get a interest on it, to try to make their investment back and then some. That's how this works. And they supplied BioWare with everything they needed, and BioWare just dropped the ball. But here's another reaction. These are from Reset Era. If you don't know what that is, it's basically like Reddit, but somehow even more woke. You can see people listing off the people who have been laid off at BioWare. And then you have this lovely post. It says this. So full-on MAGA effect to appease the shitheads, I'm guessing. More ass shots, more owl the edge, and as much high-end, non-cartoony graphics as the head can manage. I don't know what they're saying. Only beautiful women with big bazungas and perfect asses. Males can be ugly and fat, though.
Hey, okay,
Only two genders for humans and non-binary aliens to slaughter, and no politics. Yeah, that's a very interesting description. I'm pretty sure you're describing what a lot of gamers would like. By the way, that's the kind of delusions going on over there. But with this shutdown, we're seeing another round of layoffs. And this chart, I don't know if this person made this chart, they're sharing it from someone else, but this is a very interesting chart showing the layoffs and the closures of various studios from the major companies like Ubisoft, Microsoft, EA, and so on. And this is the latest round of layoffs. Is it going to fully close BioWare? Who knows? In time, maybe. The next Mass Effect is going to be a make or break for BioWare, and they better be ready to release something that is going to hit and hit very well. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're bringing back the OG team that worked on the previous installments, because they're trying to recapture any magic they can, because they really need it right now. And of course, on the horizon, we got Assassin's Creed Shadows. We saw the failure of many titles beyond just Veilguard, but the next focus is going to be Assassin's Creed Shadows. And do I think this game is going to sell a lot of copies? I think it will. I think it's going to sell a lot of copies, but it's a matter of how much did they cripple their own success with all the controversy over the past couple of months. And yeah, Ubisoft in this case, they need a gigantic win. Okay, they're in gigantic levels of debt. They're facing a horrible market value right now. They can't even sell themselves at this point. Their IPs are more valuable than their actual company. And Assassin's Creed Shadows is literally their Hail Mary play. They have to score a touchdown with this. They have to sell an enormous level of copies. And every single controversy they got themselves in, which were all self-created, it's their fault. They only hamstring their own success with that stuff. They could have maybe saved themselves, but it's going to be a lot harder now that they've done all of this nonsense to their PR. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. As always, feel free.
Yeah, Ref is correct about pretty much everything. This is just... I don't even know what to say at this point. This is just... We will see how this entire thing actually plays out. Because at the end of the day, if they fuck up again. And to be completely honest, I am very, very, very happy that they actually fired people. And I hope that those were the actual toxic ones, because this can only be positive for us, the players. I just hope it. If it's not, then not, but if it is, it is. But as it is, Acolytes, good night.